Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coming to Terms with AI. I'm Miri Blayckher, the social media manager here at Coco Hub. I had absolutely zero knowledge when it comes to conversational AI, chatbots, and voice bots. I need the help. So I decided to create this glossary of terms even a newbie like myself could understand. So I turned to industry leaders to explain terms, ideas, and concepts to me in a way that will make sense to me. And if it makes sense to me, there's a good chance it will make sense to you. So today I turn to Laura Grimm, conversational UX designer at Lautmal. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Miri. Great to meet you.
Can you tell me what is context?
Sure. So, coming from a background in cognitive linguistics, I like to focus on the linguistic side of context and why it is so important for my work as designer. So, for us as humans, context is something that we are always aware of, even though it's completely unconscious. And actually, there are so many different levels that we combine without even noticing it. And the first would be the social context. So I'm pretty sure you already noticed that you speak differently if you talk to your friends, to your family, to your co-workers, strangers in a bus, whatsoever. And there would be a second layer of all of that, and this would be the place where you are and the environment you're in. So you adapt to where you are and who you talk to. And of course, there's a third layer. There are many other layers, but these are the three most important, which is the topic. So it depends on what you say and what you're talking about. And this can lead to words or sentences having completely different meanings. You have to know what you're talking about. For example, the phrase, where do I find it? If you don't have the exact idea of what you're talking about or the other person is talking about, you will just make no sense out of this question. And maybe you've already noticed this when you talk to someone and you're like, are we still talking about this topic? And yeah, this is pretty common in human conversations. And then the other person might be, oh no, sorry, I changed. And this would be a perfect example for context switch. So we combine all those informations of our environment, the people we're talking to, the social situation, the topic we're talking about, and create a whole idea of how we need to communicate. And as I already mentioned, this is completely unconscious in most of the situations. You just notice those little problems when you don't have the exact context. And then you will ask and you will make sure that you understand which context you're in. With, are we still talking about this? Or what are you talking about? I mean, we all know that sometimes we just don't understand what a person says. And then we get one more piece of information. And in this moment, everything makes sense. So this is part of how humans communicate and what the basis of our communication is. And when it comes to chatbots, this is a problem because as we are so used to adapt to context and creating these links between different people in different contexts, we notice directly when there is something off. We can't even tell why this is weird in some situations, but we will realize it very quick. So when we create conversational AI, we need to focus on all those different layers of context that we have in human conversations, and not only to make sure we understand what the user wants or says, but also to make sure that we address the users in a way that is appropriate, that they will understand what we want to talk to them. So this starts with the greeting, for example. We have to have a very clear idea of who we are talking to when we greet them. And it makes a huge difference if we greet someone in our conversational AI, no matter if it's voice or chatbot, by saying, hey there, what's up, how are you? Or it's very nice to meet you, how can I be of assistance? So this is the first step where we have to be very aware of the context, the communicational context we're in, the social context we're in. And then it also comes to understanding the user. I already mentioned the example of not knowing what could be meant by asking, where do I find this? How do I do this? This is why we need to track our conversations. So once I wrote a quote saying context helps you to be on track on whatever happened to the conversation before. And this is, of course, very, very important because if we were talking with a client about some information he or she might get, and then it will be, oh, can you give me some more information? Of course, we have to know exactly what we've been talking about before, because otherwise this sentence doesn't have any meaning. And there are two, or like three concepts from linguistics that are very important. So the first is ambiguity. That means that words can have very different meaning. As I already mentioned, but this is also, when a user asks or tells us, I have a problem with my bank. This sentence has totally different meaning if they are chatting with a Home Depot chatbot or, with their bank because they have a problem with their bank account. So this is just, an example to show why it's so important to get very clear that people might express different things by using the same words. And there's also something that is called Anaphors. And this is also included in the topic of referring back to something, when I said, okay, I need more information. And anaphors are just little words that refer back to a term that has been mentioned. So when people be like, I have a problem with my bank, and then you give them some information or you ask what the problem exactly is, and then they will be like, yeah, I can't find it. This little word it refers to the noun that has been mentioned before, but they won't mention it again. Just imagine in a human conversation, you won't be like, I have a problem with my bank. I can't find my bank. Please help me to enable my bank, whatsoever. You would never, ever repeat this word again and again. So we need to make sure that by creating context in our conversational agents, we stick on those main information that we already got from the user to make sense of every follow-up utterance, question, whatsoever. And there's also something called deixis. And those are little words or also phrases that get their meaning only by context. When I tell you, I am happy to meet you here today, we only can adapt or know what this phrase means because we know who I is, who you is, where there or here is. And this is also, we need to teach conversational AI very, very carefully, because when you will say, send or show me this here, what does the person mean by here? It might be that there are multiple devices. Should it be on the screen of the device the person is using, or have we already been talking about a different device where the person wants to see whatsoever?
Interesting.
So this is why context is so important to have in mind, and especially because it is so natural for us as humans that we really need to be aware of it when it comes to creating chatbots. Maybe when we have one example, it's one of the examples that we would use a lot when it comes to conversational designs. This is when you order pizza. And you would be like, or when you want to go have pizza and you'd be like, is there an Italian restaurant? And the correct answer, without understanding the context and the user and assuming what the user wants, the answer would be probably yes or no. Because, sure, is there an Italian restaurant? It's binary, yes or no. But of course, as we know the context, or we assume the context the user is in, we will ask us when designing, and maybe also the user, okay, probably the person wants to have pizza now, close by. So it should be a restaurant in the vicinity and it should be open right now. And those are information that we need. And these are information that also need to be retrieved from different contexts out of the world. So this is when we will tell the user, oh, okay, I guess you want to have pizza now. This is also a problem. We can't just assume. We have to make sure that our assumptions are right. And then we can just ask little by little if the user wants to have pizza now, etc., etc. the next time the user will be like, I want a pizza. We can just ask, okay, the last time you like to go to this or that restaurant, you want to go to the same one, it's open right now. And this is how we adapt to information that we already have, and we can create, based on the information we already have on the user, we can create even more layers of context that we can add to our conversation. And yeah, as I already mentioned, as soon as there are little offs in the conversation based on context, it will be really hard to keep the user trusting the system. So um, a great example is PayPal. They had a chatbot, and obviously they tried to make it very natural, very communicative. So they added little discourse markers, like little words like, okay, cool, nice, to make it sound more natural. But they completely forgot the context, because when a conversation starts, it could go to a informational context, and talking about topics of information where people just want to know something, or it could go in a direction where people already have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a completely different context, and you really need to adapt. And there was this one example where a user came in with, I got scammed. And the answer was, great. So this is what happens when you're not totally aware of what directions conversation can take, and the users will be shocked, even though they know it's a bot, or even though if a voice bot, we are all aware of voice bots, some things being a little weird, a little off, but still, those misses when it comes to context, I guess, or I think this is one of the hardest problems we have to overcome to make people really trust and enjoy conversations with conversational AI.
Wow, it's so interesting. So basically, it's something, context is something that humans do naturally or learn very easily, and bots need this all this guidance from us to make it clear and to connect all these things, like this is it and what does it mean, and all these context, all this connection to what does it mean in the conversation.
Yes, exactly. And not only on the conversation, these things that are actually uttered, but also all the information that you could have around. Like one example is also when it comes to chatbots, that people ask for some information and they get a link, and they are sent by this link on the exact same page where they already are. And of course, when they already are on this page, why should you send them to this page? So this would also be a matter of what I mentioned in the beginning of the situation, of the location of the users. It's not only a museum or a school, it can also be an exact spot on a website that gives us more information on how to communicate correctly and pass informations that are truly helpful.
So interesting. Thank you so much for helping create this glossary of terms.
It was a
And
pleasure.
thank you. It's a great explanation. I think it will help anyone looking to get to know, to understand conversational AI better. And for all you guys out there, thank you for tuning in. See you next time. Hear you next time if you're listening to it as a podcast. Thank you.